Welcome to Sunday Morning Quarterback with Jay Stockwell and Bob Frady.
UB, how are you, man?
Well, Jay, I think we've had better weekends for sure.
Yeah. So let's just review the difficulties of the weekend. So first, there was obviously the game, and I'm way out there on a limb predicting a victory for the Huskers.
You know what's fun is that I predicted that they would lose in a close game. You predicted they would win in a close game. Yet what gets posted, they're going to win.
Here's the deal. Sometimes in business, you're trying to make a point, right? And so you look for data sources that help make your point. Just looking at the relative data, and I love what Husker Max does with the side-by-side comparisons each week. So, for example, the Illinois game this week looks very competitive, very even. But, here we were after 4 games, number 1 rush defense in the country. Michigan really hadn't played anybody. Basically, who took the same exact position that I did, UB? Urban Meyer.
He's a national commentator now. Look at that. So you agree with the pundits.
Hold on. We put out that pod on Wednesday. He was saying that on Saturday, okay?
We drank so much Kool-Aid, we're like a bloated pig on the side of the road. It's like, oh, I drank too much Kool-Aid. Oh, my belly hurts. Oh, no, I got run over by a truck from Michigan.
The bottom line is we got duped. And then the Patriots... Well, let's take it in order.
This is the Nebraska podcast. Let's stick to the Nebraska podcast.
All right, but okay, related, because one of the co-hosts was supposed to have a golf match this morning. We've had so much rain, there were no carts allowed, that my opponent has an Achilles. We've been waiting to play this match for a year.
Your opponent has 2 Achilles. There you go.
Is an Achilles injury and therefore can't play. So the 2022 Medina Country Club Green Jacket match is still unplayed. But then you, Bob, you're a fan of the Patriots. They had a rough go this afternoon. I know you don't want to talk about the Patriots, but Russ Hochstein played for the Patriots. He's a Nebraska guy.
He did. Yeah. And you know what? All in all, I had a wonderful weekend. Just none of it involving football.
There were no sports victories that we were associated with all weekend.
Oh, hey, Crystal Palace won, but that's soccer. No one cares about that. So, 2 things you got to understand about data. Let me tell you something, Mr. Data Guy. Number 1, data lied. As we just saw, data really lied to us. Data was like, you know what? If you just meet me out in the parking lot and back, I got to kiss you. Like, that data just lied. We got beaten up and our lunch money got taken. And number 2, it was an N of 3. You need an N of 20 before data becomes statistically significant.
No, hold on. There are 4 games there.
Okay, yeah, and 4 is not 20.
Yeah.
N of 4, not enough data.
Yeah.
As we've seen.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? Hey, listen. All season long, I'm like, Michigan's a little further ahead. But I've discovered what this rebuild is like. This rebuild is just like rebuilding a house. Where the contractor says, wow, we're way ahead of schedule. You should be able to move in July. And then July comes, it's like, well, maybe August. How's December? That's what it's like. And you just have to be patient. It'll be beautiful when it's done, but you just have to be patient. Don't anybody panic. This is not last year where you're at the end of a cycle. This is a very big. It's a new baby. So your baby's not sleeping at night. Big deal. It'll sleep at night eventually.
I think literally we learned something here. To Matt Rule's credit, he's been somewhat consistent about the path that he's on. He's not on an immediate return path. This thing is going to take some time. Let's do the Husker Max 2-minute drill for just talking about the stats here. So this was a thorough domination by Michigan for sure. 436 yards of offense versus 305.
When you think about it, that's not that much difference. It's not like Michigan rolled up 700 yards. It's like but the places that they had the ball were highly advantageous. The first pass, tip, interception, and you're on the 20, and you march in, and it's 14.
Right. And our stats were helped by the Josh Fleek's run at the end, 74 yards. That looked pretty darn good. The coaches are trying to find players that can sort of fit the bill, especially in the context of all the injuries that we've had. Alvano, the kicker, this kid doesn't seem like he can kick it through the uprights.
He was great in high school, and then, it's like just different. I'm going to make a recommendation. Don't focus on the data. It's only going to make you mad because it's going to lie to you and tell you that you should have been a better scorer. You know what? Sometimes you just got to dig a hole, put the game film in it, and bury it.
Time of possession, 38 to 21. They just dominated, handed the ball off. And the JJ McCaffrey, like very, very accurate passer. He came into the game like at 79%. That guy was impressive. I was wrong. You said it was going to be a closer, slower scoring game. We were both wrong about that.
Yes.
Michigan is incredible. Some of the plays, that catch that they made in the very first touchdown.
Yeah, incredible catch.
Our guy was all over them. So I'm going to continue down into the game page and just go through some of the Husker Max game page, that is, and go through some of the commentary from some of the leading writers in Nebraska, which is one of. Do you do this, Bob? Do you look at the writers, what they were saying the next morning on Husker Max?
No, listen.
I think it's great.
Listen, here's the thing. I'm a fan. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a realist. I'm not anything. I'm a fan. Go Big Red. That's that. Every sentence with Nebraska ends with "Go Big Red" in a victory.
All right.
And if you don't think so, then go root for go root for Alabama or some bandwagon team like that.
These guys can inform. These guys watch it closer than we do. So Tad Stryker. Michigan was a sober reminder of how steep a climb the Husker program has in front of it. Amen. Christopherson, the Wolverines just picked the Huskers apart, whether by land or air. Chattel, Harbaugh can make a play or two, but he's limited by the lack of playmakers around him on offense on the offensive line, still trying to figure out a lot of stuff.
A complete team beat an incomplete team. Surprise! Duh! I don't need to get clicks on my newspaper column. Listen, I know that some people are in for the win and some for the clicks. We're totally for the clicks. But frankly, you know what? Bad days happen. Everybody has bad days. Everybody makes mistakes.
One serious thing that I want to talk to you about relative to this Nebraska rebuild. So my son is 15, right? And I've introduced him to the Huskers in a very, very big way, like from the time he was like 5 to 7 years old. And we became friends with Coach Miles, and George had a ton of access there. So he's like, he bleeds Husker red. But for the entirety of especially relative to football, now thank God for volleyball. Like volleyball is like the thing that's going to save us. The football program, the entire Scott Frost era was, we won like 30% of the games. And here we are in the middle of this rebuild, and we have all this like pent up optimism, but I've introduced my son to this losing culture.
Every kid needs some grist for the therapy mill at some point in their life. And if this is the worst thing that you do to your kid, I introduced him to an average college football team, you know what? You're ahead of the game. It's like you show up for his games, you're always very supportive, you send him to a nice school. Oh yeah, introduce you to Nebraska. Okay. On the scale of like I do really bad things or I do really good things, this is kind of in the middle. It's like it's kind of good and it's kind of bad. If it's the worst thing you do, you're a hero. So that's okay. Yeah. But you're teaching him the value of useless persistence, because sometimes it actually pays off.
So Portnoy from Barstool Sports was in Lincoln this weekend, and he put this T-shirt out there that said "Make Nebraska mediocre again," right? And all his entire point was, I just want to see a good game, And he got massive blowback from it, massive blowback.
Listen, if part of how you want to get your social media attention is by being a jerk, then go ahead, be a jerk. You know what? That's not the Nebraska way. It's like, what do you want to do stuff like that for?
His point was, okay, Nebraska, if you don't want that goal, then let's just have Michigan pound you 45-7. That's exactly what happened.
You know what? Guys like that, it's like, I hope you're happy in dwelling in Schadenfreude. It's like, to me, it's like, it's such a useless, you get rich on the backs of other people's misery. Who needs that? Who needs that in this world? It's like, screw these people. It's like, get out. It's like, just get out. People in Nebraska, good people, strong people, faith in their team. And you know what? They go and they're hopeful. And it's an early process. As someone who's living through a renovation, there are many stages where you're like, what the hell did I get myself into? We are in that stage right now. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. So let's go back to the beginning. You called 8-4. I called 7-5.
I'm
on that path.
optimistic because the Big Ten West this year is terrible. Next year it's going to be a lot better. This year it's terrible.
Matt Rule said literally in the press conference, he said this game sucked, and then he backed off and said stunk.
Yeah.
But this game did suck. But I hope
Yeah.
they learn from it. This week it's on Friday night, so we're playing Illinois on the road. It's a very even statistical matchup, and so we'll do the pregame pod on Tuesday. But this one was kind of hard to watch and a bit of a disappointment. But we are, to your point, we're in a renovation.
That's
and we
right.
just got to be patient.
Don't worry. Although it was kind of the worst part of the weekend wasn't Nebraska losing. It was watching, what's his name, Omarion Miller catch 194 yards worth of balls in Colorado and look like the kind of wideout that would look really good in Nebraska red.
Oh, my God. That's the kid that, decommitted from Nebraska.
Yeah, good for him. You know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
My goal in all this is that all these kids see success. That's what it's for. And if he's seeing success with a different team, well, that kind of stinks. But good for him getting some success. We'll get there. We'll get there, Stop. We'll get there. Be patient. See, here's the thing.
Well,
you have to be patient. You're stuck with them. This is like a marriage you cannot get divorced from. You cannot divorce from Nebraska. It's like you drink the water in Hardington there. It's like, Tom Osborne. You're stuck. See, I'm more of a dilettante. I chose to root for Nebraska. I'm not from Nebraska. I chose to root for Nebraska. You don't have any choice. So guess what? You better make the best of it. Tell that ugly game that, there was something good that came from it. Maybe we learned some humility and we have to practice differently. Who knows? You're stuck with them. Get used to it.
Well, I think that's good advice. I'm still a Husker. I love my team, and we're still on the Matt Rule train. And what can we say? Go Big Red. Other than that, can we say anything other than Go Big Red?
Of course we can. We could say a lot of stuff. You missed the big announcement last week. The administration from the University of Nebraska is apparently listening to our podcast and my incessant complaints about the size of the seats in Memorial Stadium. And they are going to renovate the stadium, which is kind of amazing. They're going to take the capacity down by 20,000 during the rebuild years for Matt Rule, and then limit the capacity by another, I think, 16,000 overall. It's going to be a smaller stadium in terms of capacity.
77,000. That's right. And
so
the seats they'll actually be comfortable. The seats are going to actually be comfortable.
I'm going to have them do a Stockwell measurement for the seat. And if Stockwell hasn't done that seat, sorry, I am not giving my stamp of approval to this one. I've watched you struggle with those seats too many times. It's like, even I struggle with them, and I'm skinny like a freaking pipe cleaner. It's like, I'm too tall. It's like the knees are out here. And luckily, I think this is what, here's one of the reasons why I think people are nice in Nebraska. Not just because they're nice inherently, but because those seats are so small, they have to be nice to each other. Because you're always bumping into each other.
Yeah, that is for sure. We've been a huge fan of Trev Alberts from the beginning. I think he's a great leader. And he's, it's $450 million just for the South Stadium. So
it's crazy. I don't care if we are playing in the Alamo Car Rental Roof Condition Bowl. I don't care what it is. Going to a bowl game this year. Going bowling.
I think that's right. And I think
we need one thing, Stockwell. You ready? Go Big Red!
All right, go Big Red. Love it.